Thanks for checking out this video on G4G. Today we've got a little bit of a sad piece of information. It's been out for a few days, maybe about a week or so now, but apparently Marvel Battle Lines is going to go ahead and fold up in the beginning of January. A little bit of an odd date there, January 9, 2020. I don't know if maybe that's an anniversary of when it went live and went out of beta or something like that, but MBL, which kind of sounds like a basketball league, the Marvelous Basketball League. So Marvelous Basketball League is going to wrap up on January 9th of 2020. Little sad for it. It's not the biggest impact in the world, and that's sort of kind of why I want it to stick around. A lot of games, once you get into clans or guilds or alliances, your dailies become work. There's a certain joke picture that's been going around lately, like, now that we've gamified work, can we workify game? And my girlfriend likes to joke that, well, that's World of Warcraft because of the raiding and the dailies and the grinds and the gear and the random. Well, I mean, these mobile games have gotten just as robust. It takes a lot of time during the day to maintain in DC Legends. It takes a lot of time to maintain in Marvel Strike Force. It takes a lot of time to maintain a Marvel Future Fight, depending on how your alliance is oriented. Marvel Battle Lines, Fallout Shelter, Final Fantasy Record Keeper, even the Iron Maiden game and the Wizard of Oz game are pretty quick with their dailies, and you still feel relatively accomplished. Looney Tunes, here's another one that's got heavy dailies, especially once you are in a an alliance of sort. Marvel Battle Lines, to me, was one of my favorite quickies. I could dip in, I could dip out, I could spend an hour if I wanted to, I could spend 10 minutes, and I would still feel accomplished. Fallout Shelter is, to me, the all-time classic game of that. I can go in, I can tap a bunch of my rooms, collect some stuff. Maybe I'll send somebody out on a quest. Maybe I won't. Doesn't really matter. That's where I'm kind of sad I'm losing Marvel Battle Lines. I would like to lose something from my day that's more daily oriented. I mean, I don't wish the death of any of the games I'm involved in, clearly. But if something is going to be taken from me and is out of my hands and belongs to fate, I wish it was something with a little bit more of a daily effort. So Marvel Battle Lines started a while back, and it was sometimes easy to confuse with the title of an Epic game that was going to come out called Battle Breakers. Battle Breakers was something different. Battle Breakers is, I don't know, it's weird. I liked Battle Breakers. I got a beta APK of it, and then they wiped it, or I added it to another device, and I couldn't get back into my account. I was back at square zero, and I was kind of like, eh. Okay, goodbye. But Marvel Battle Lines, I mean, I've played this for a while, and this was a game that I think was honestly overrated and grew out of the shadow of what people assumed this game was going to be in the beginning. And I'm surprised. I'm surprised, and I'm not surprised that this game is going under. And I'll explain. I'm surprised in a vacuum that the game is going under. And before I dip into that, let's not forget that at least in the future we may have this Marvel Realm of Champions coming, where essentially you're going to have a lot of customization, and you're going to pledge to a house, like pledge House Stark, pledge your allegiance to Wakanda, Hulk, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, and everything like that. This is going to be interesting. I wonder if this is going to be a Risk type game, or Axis and Allies, or Shogun, if anybody else is old enough to remember that. If it's going to be like taking points on a map because it says global skirmishes or whatever, but if we're going to lose MBL, at least we're getting something. Unfortunately, it's from that Kabam Netmarble Union, and Kabam, yeah, they can get pretty greedy. To me, in all honesty, the greediest game that I've ever seen is MCOC, Marvel Contest of Champions. When I rearranged my computers and my new computer became my main one, and then the previous main moved to my secondary slot, and I kind of shut off the laptop, which was my secondary previously, and didn't use it anymore. That's where my MCOC was, and I haven't logged in and touched that for the daily or done anything with it in now several months, probably since the middle to the end of the summer. I've kind of erased it from my life, and I sort of don't feel that bad about it, although I do have a lot of characters in there. I found that game to be ridiculously greedy, because it sort of celebrates your duplicates. You have a 5-star Drax, you pull a 2-star Drax, and it lights off fireworks. This game, on the other hand, I feel was not particularly greedy. I never really had to spend hardly anything in this game. If I spent $15 on the lifetime of this game, that's probably a lot. And as I was saying in the vacuum, I'm surprised the game is dying, because it does seem to be doing okay. I mean, I don't know the daily player count, but you know, it's having content. They were doing this thing with the Stark Lab for a little while. They haven't had any Stark Lab stuff in a while, but you know, I remember playing the Sakaar Arena, at least. They added the Horde mode. They seem to be doing okay, and they were following along with some movies for a while, and they were having good movie tie-ins. Like, right now there is the Spider-Man Far From Home tie-in, and I definitely remember the Captain Marvel tie-in, so it was staying relevant, and it was doing okay for itself, and I'm surprised to see it go away, because I never really picked up on an apparent lack of content where things just dried up for a while. I'm like, yo, hello, is this thing on? I mean, Iron Maiden Legacy of the Beast, when it first came out, everything said coming soon, and everything said coming soon for a long time, and I went, man, I don't know about this game. This might be just a cheap tie into the Iron Maiden name, and I don't know if we'll ever see anything from this. By the way, I don't know if you play this game, and if you do, does this game seem to think that Lady Bullseye is the biggest shit in the world? I mean, I have so many Lady Bullseye shards that she's up at that 10,000 gold to upgrade her period. It's just like, people seem to, this game seems to think that Lady Bullseye is the complete tits, and I don't really know why. So anyway, the game never really had that blank spot, and, you know, Iron Maiden Legacy of the Beast, like I was saying, seemed to have that, and then all of a sudden it got a lot of content, and it survived. So, in a vacuum, just judging the game by itself, I am surprised to see it go. However, in real life, outside of the vacuum, once I leave the protective dome of just being in this game, I'm not surprised, because it's happened. I mean, we lost Marvel Avengers Alliance back in 2016 after a 4-year run, and that was an amazing game. By the way, it is coming back. If you're not familiar with it, look on my channel for the Marvel Avengers Alliance Redux videos, especially the one that says Alpha 5, because you can download it there. But, again, we lost Marvel Avengers Alliance, which was good, and it was making money, and it made fantastic use of Marvel properties, except for the fact that they forgot about mutants. More on mutants. Don't let me forget about mutants over here. We lost Marvel Heroes, and Marvel Heroes was a phenomenally diverse game. I mean, there were so many costumes that I learned about in that game, and I loved just spinning the carousel of the characters, looking at all The costumes, I mean, I'm not exactly play dress up fashion Barbie or anything, but it was interesting to see things I'd never heard of, like War Baby on cable, where it looks like he took the front panel of a furnace and made it his armor. It reminded me of when Michael J. Fox used the furnace door as a bulletproof vest in the third Back to the Future. Those were two tough games to lose, in my opinion. And I mean, MBL is not anywhere near on the line of MAA or MSF or Marvel Future Fight, probably even Puzzle Quest. But it's still sad to lose it, and I'm not surprised. I mean, we're going through a phase now where we lost Gifted a little early, in my opinion. We're now losing Cloak and Dagger super early, in my opinion. I liked Cloak and Dagger a lot. I kind of, I enjoyed knowing that on TV there was Gifted, there was Cloak and Dagger, there was Legion, there was the Runaways. Runaways were a huge part of my Marvel Avengers Alliance, so especially Molly. And I kind of hated the representation of Molly in Runaways. I still do. But, yeah, I'm not surprised. But, I mean, if I could literally shake the hand of the game on the way out, yeah, I'd shake this game's hand. I'd give this game a hug on the way out, because I think it grew up better than its beginnings. And I think in the beginning, there was the supposed Connect 4. People thought this game was like, oh, this is Marvel Connect 4? What? I don't know if I want to give this a shot. I stuck with it the whole way when there was, you know, the beta APK was floating around out there, and I was doing videos on it, and, you know, a lot of the comments tended to just be the same. It's like, pretty sneaky, sis. I don't know if I want to play Connect 4. Well, yes, that was its forward-facing appearance, but when you really played the game and you allowed it to wash over you like a hot shower after a really shitty day at work, you find out it was better than that initial impression. And, yeah, well, I mean, I dealt damage then. I guess it doesn't count that. See, that's a little weird. If Scorpion dealt damage to an enemy, knocked them out. This guy just attacked me. I did... Oh, it was the summon... Never mind. It was the summoning one. I see what he did. 88. Could put him over there. Gotta block this battle line. Do that. Decreases the attack. I've been running Spider-Man villains for the quest that's going on right now, so that's why this is a little bit of an unusual deck for me. So, yeah. People thought this was just going to be a weird game, and I mean, like, Puzzle Quest could get by on the match 3, I guess. I never played it. Tiny Academy. Is Tiny Academy still running? I'll have to look that up in just a few moments over here and see if that's still running. I feel like if they're going to kill a game like that would be one that should be on the table. But anyway, if you stuck with the game, you'll realize it appealed to many different things. First of all, it appeals to the strategist. Laying out the board in a way that enables you to win, sets you up for what I like to call the dirty pinch. So the dirty pinch is my nickname for when you have two open spaces available to you on your turn, and you know you're going to get the battle line attack no matter what. So whether you have a straightaway and a diagonal, your opponent can only do block one of the two things you have available to you, and then you still have the other option available, and then you get the attack. I like to call that the dirty pinch. And more often than not, you have the two-way. Sometimes you get a nice three-way ability laid out. You're like, well, you can't stop all of these. So it's a strategist's game. it is also a team building game. It's a very good synergist team. So for example, I'm going to go through my decks over here. So this is just Spider Villains. That's for the active quest. This Guardians one was for a previous one. Same for the Defenders. But this was a Horde deck. So this was a deck I designed specifically to go through Horde mode. Switcheroo, what this is Thor does damage to an enemy after an ally moves. So a lot of these cards are based on movement. And a lot of these cards are based on switches. Because things happen with switches. So Spider-Woman's on the field and Black Widow hits the field. Let's just say the enemy has 3 action cards in their hand. So Spider-Woman's on the field and says when an opponent switches a card, decrease the attack of an enemy with attack over 1 by 44 to 55 by using her Bioelectric Blast. Well, if she's on the field and you drop Black Widow, that's 3 pops from Spider-Woman. On every turn, an opponent leader switches a card in their hand, so there's Spot doing it. On every turn, opponent switches all action cards in the hand. That one deserves an upgrade, actually. So those 2 Black Widow cards have synergy with switches. They have synergy with switching on Spider-Woman. Supergiant, after summoning, switching. J-Thor, she's really the big thing. When you or an enemy switch a card, deal damage to the enemy with the highest hit points. She's really one of the ones you want on the field. So, and then she gains attack. There are several, so you have your linchpins, Spider-Woman, J-Thor, and Nox, and then you have all these triggers going on over here. And you know, there's some filler cards here and everything like that. And for Thor, if I had Black Cat in the deck who does things when she moves, it triggers Thor. So it's a deck that wraps in on itself on a couple things. And to me, that's what was really fun about this game, is it's very much like Magic the Gathering or Hearthstone or any card collectible game. It's played out in the Connect 4 style, but in reality, if that's all you ever saw in this game, you did yourself a disservice. If you can get into the game before it dies, I definitely recommend it. I would try to get this game, play it. There's probably going to be a period of time where they're going to throw resources at you. You likely get a lot of stuff for free. So here, Nightmare. After moving, have the attack and hit points of all enemies on the battlefield. Every time he moves, he does that. And every time he moves, he would trigger Thor as your leader. So you could either build a deck around a card or two. You could build a deck around a theme. You could build a deck around your leader. Wasp. She's another amazing leader. She's very, very unique. If Wasp is your leader, she has a chance of taking any action card that you burnt, and you've got a 15 chance of adding it back to your library. And you can build a deck with a lot of cheap action cards, play them, and then hopefully get them back in your deck instead of the one-time use. So that's actually this deck. Black Widow. She has, anytime a 0-cost character is summoned, add hit points to that character. So you stack it up with a lot of cheapies or weenies, and they build up, especially if you have people who build themselves, like Man-Thing over here is a 0 cost. He's going to get boosted by Black Widow, which has a chance of making him live longer, and then he just grows. There's a lot of cards here that have some kind of benefit of being a 0. So the Asgardian Chalice applied to Man-Thing boosts him up when he's weak. It's just, that's the fun of this game, is it's a collector at heart, but it masquerades by sort of having an on deck of being a Connect 4. But it really was a fun game, and there's a lot of cards here and a lot of characters that I never heard about. This, by the way, this always looks like Hitler, especially in the thumbnail, but I kind of bemoan the lack of mutants. So, like, Nightmare, I wasn't particularly familiar with, but the Marvel Avengers Alliance Redux people are. They've worked him in on some mystical and Doctor Strange related plots, I believe. Most of this I've heard of. You know, Wiccan I know about. Viv. Never heard of Viv before. It looks like a mutant. Sadly, it isn't. I think it's a robot or a cyborg. I kind of am sad there were no mutant-related characters in here. To me, that is always what is the sign of a good Marvel game, if they are able to dip into the X-Men universe. And I was kind of sad these guys didn't, because there are games now that didn't have mutants before that have them. Marvel Strike Force, Marvel Future Fight. They were not big on the mutants until they were allowed to start bringing them in. Marvel Battle Lines existed in that time frame when mutants started showing up in these MCU-related games. So where's the mutants? Why are you being highlighted to me? Yeah, I was a little sad at that. But I kind of like what they do with these variants, like, you know, this is a variant of the Captain Marvel cat, but then the Captain Marvel cat is also there. You'll have Team Suit Black Widow, you'll have regular Black Widow, you'll have Iron Fist here, then he'll also appear on the Will of the Thunder card. Nebula, and Nebula with the team suit. So it's a lot of fun. The associations have synergy, so you could build a Avengers deck if you wanted to, and then that's your theme for the deck, is that everybody in there is Avengers, and that's an example of the game having progress. That wasn't in the game in the beginning, and you can download these cards. Woo, 240 megs? That's a... wow. Actually, I may try that. Let's see what downloading one of these is like. So that's, you know, a thing that they added to the game later on, is that when these cards have synergy marked by that icon over there, it means they're in a shared universe with other cards. So this one here on Scourge, that's the Asgardian universe. These cards will gain buffs to their hit points and attack if they're on the field with other cards from their universe. That wasn't in the game in the beginning. So I think that's cool, and it showed progression in the game. It showed that if you just thought of this game as a Connect 4 game and pushed it to the side, you kind of missed out. But it looks like we're all gonna leave this game behind in the beginning of January. It is definitely a little sad, as this is just such a quickie game to drop in, drop out, get enjoyment out of easily. I mean, especially once you've done the dailies that you want to do, step away from it, have lunch, and then come back and play another 10 minutes, and it's fun. You're like, okay, I've done the dailies, but I really need to do more of those spider villain ones. Pick an easy mode, build a spider villain deck, and just run over that easy mode and get your 10 cards that you need to play from spider villains. And it's fun, and it was challenging. Sometimes the AI saw what you were doing and would stop it. Other modes, the AI was like, oh, I don't know what's happening. And it was like playing a piece of carpet in chess. It just had no idea what you were doing. And it keeps you on your toes, because sometimes when you needed a little bit of an easier mode, like the movie tie-ins, they'd be there and the AI would be stupid. You can run over it. But then if you were doing other ones, the AI really was like, no, I know what he's doing. I'm going to get in front of it. And then the AI would try and dirty pinch you. So, fun game. Sad it's going. I do definitely plan on playing it until it disappears. Let's see, Marvel Academy. 'Cause, 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 'c Is that game? Puzzle Quest is still around. I think they did get rid of Academy, unless it's... I guess they did get rid of it. Unless it's not compatible with BlueStacks, which I doubt, but, yeah. If I was going to lose a game, I wish I could lose a game that had more involved dailies and everything like that, like Marvel Strike Force over there. Dissidia, this is another fun one to kind of drop in, do a few things, and drop out. Even though it does have some complicated dailies, I don't feel the need to just totally go through that. Man of Vampire, oh god, that South Park game was way that. This is definitely a gacha game. The South Park one, and the Titanfall game were the same way. They were good up until like a certain level, and then they wanted to really just reach out through the screen and take your wallet and consume it right in front of you. And I had to stop both of those because you couldn't get anywhere unless you paid. And I was like, nope, no thanks. You are clearly making a grab for my wallet. And Marvel Battle Lines never did that. I thought that was pretty cool. You just played the game, and you got good stuff out of it. So, I'm hoping this picture downloads soon over here. I'd like to see what it's like. And hey, if you like some of the cards in here, maybe get in and start downloading some of these before the game wraps up, because I think some of these would make great wallpapers or potentially Facebook avatars or something like that. I've got a friend who has a orange tabby that would probably love this picture of Goose over here. So what did you think of Marvel Battle Lines if you played it when it was live? Have you played it from the beginning and stuck with it and enjoyed it the whole way through? Did you play it and drop off going, this is kind of boring, it's just Connect 4? Do you understand what I'm saying when this is a really good collector game, and it definitely bears a lot of resemblance to Hearthstone and Magic the Gathering, where you build decks, and the placement of it I think is also very interesting. Alright, so I downloaded it. Is it going to be in the downloads folder? Let's go find out. Download. No. I don't know where it put it. Huh. Okay, well, I have no idea where it put the card. Maybe it's in the data directory of this or the OBB. But before we leave, we'll take one last look. So here are some videos that'll link. The login rewards are your weekly and your monthly, so every day this goes up. The card collection is obviously your cards, and you get bonuses for completing things. So like I've completed the Defenders, but the good thing is you get nice little nuggets, gifts along the way. You don't have to wait until you complete it to get it. You have teams, minions. So most of my minions are done except for a sandworm in Battle World. And then you have seasons. Really, it's only... Technically, it's really only 2. It was Arrivals and Origin. Surprised at Battle World being called a season. You have notices. You have your friends list. Never really got too social in this game. I had some in the very, very beginning, but they don't seem to play. Stark Lab we looked at earlier. This is where they would beta test interesting things. Nothing came live from any of this. It just, they went in the Stark Lab and nothing happened. Achievements, this is your daily area. That's changed several times. Event Portal is where you can do either your minorly long-running event or your check-in challenge or temporary 1 week one, and then this is a rotating daily here. Duel in the Haze is one of the ones that I liked. Good example of a thinking man thing. Black Panther swipes every enemy on the board if he's below a certain amount of hit points. If you use him with Duel in the Haze, it says every leader fights with low hit points. So he's good for that, and he's also good for the mode where you only start with 1 hit point. So he's just constantly swiping the enemy team down for free. That's an example of thinking in this game. You've got Blitz, which is a form of PvP. You have Challenge, which again is a form of PvP. These are all AFK PvP. It's not live. And then you have Horde mode, which is go until you die. Try to get through as many as you can. And then Campaign is the main PvE slot over there. And then Special Ops is also a main PvE, but you have conditionals to get stars, like avoiding the battle line attack, do not discard, defeat the opponent leader in one or fewer battle attacks. So I have a deck built around doing Spec Ops, and it's my Black Panther deck. It's designed mostly to make sure that everything I drop does damage so that the enemy doesn't get a battle line attack. I just weaken their characters. Doorman, this is another character that I'd never heard of until this game, and honestly no other Marvel game made me look people up or find out about them other than Marvel Avengers Alliance and this game. So that's credit to this game to kind of opening my eyes to people I never heard of and making me go out and find information. And I haven't done that since Marvel Avengers Alliance. Like, I didn't know who Molly was. I didn't know who the Runaways were, or Carolina Dean, or that she was basically a lesbian of light. Didn't know that until I played that game and had to go look it up. I was like, oh, cool. And this game kind of made me do it too. Like, Doorman was definitely an example. Satana got her recently. That's almost kind of a chibi-esque version of Satana that's pleasing. That is not particularly demonic. That's just like anime pretty girl over there. Crimson Hawks. Didn't know what they particularly were at first. Definitely knew the Wrecking Crew, the Outriders. They were Thanos' little grunt minions. Pretty much everything over here we've certainly heard of. Crossbones gets an upgrade. He looks like that's a decent... It's funny how many games Crossbones is absolute shit, and he's just low-tier garbage, and then there are some games where Crossbones is really good. General Lucan. Lucan. Can't say I heard of that guy. Grid. Didn't know what Grid is. I see that uniform and I think, wow, that looks like that could be potentially mutant. Nope, it's an Inhuman, because there is no mutants in this game. Naja. Again, never heard of Naja. Seems to be the Inhuman universe. Spot. Hadn't heard of Spot until this game. Firebrand. Prodigy. I think he's a young Avenger. I think I did know a little bit about him. Doorman, there was an example of one I had never heard of. So there's definitely a few. Stick. Well, no, I did know about Stick. This is an odd representation of Shatterfist, especially not seeing the swords. And that's actually a decent representation of Shatterfist. He usually looks considerably cheesier than that. Oddball. Who the fuck is Oddball? A juggling villain? Oh, okay. You would think maybe Arcade would fulfill that role. Patriot, I sort of knew a little bit about. But anyway, let me know what you thought about the game below, if you played it. And if you haven't played it but you are a Marvel fan or you're a deck building fan, get in the game before it dies and have a little bit of fun, especially if they start throwing buckets of resources at you. So take care, everybody. Have a good one.